Okay, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. My name's Jackie Boyle, and as always, I do tell you each and every week, it is an absolute pleasure and honour to be here. And on behalf of Dr. Ahrens and myself, we want to thank each and every one of you for showing up each week. And if you're watching this afterwards, we thank you as well. And just a little bit of housework before we go. Today is an actual quiz talk. So what we are actually requesting and asking you to ask Dr. Ahrens questions. What we do want to say to you is that we're not aiming to heal, cure, and or mitigate any diseases. Any questions that you do have, please do not put a product name attached to it. We are trying to stay compliant. So first of all, Dr. Ahrens, how are you?
I'm really good on a great day here. It's still a Thursday evening. The sun's getting ready to set. It's a great day. Glad to be here.
Well, it's always great to have you in the house because I often say it, the knowledge that you always provide here each week, I've learned something from you each and every time because we can listen, but sometimes we don't always absorb it. And I need to hear things over and over a couple of times before it resonates, or maybe it doesn't actually mean that much to you at the time. And then all of a sudden you go, oh, I remember what he said that time. So it's like adding books into your library of knowledge, as I like to refer to it. So Dr. Ahrens, I've got a question of you, if I can, and then I will invite others to ask afterwards. You know, when we're confronted with health challenges, regardless of what it is, your energy levels may be lower, you're finding that you're struggling through, if you've got certain conditions and you just think, why? I'm on supplements, I'm on flavonoids, I'm going to relate it back to flavonoids. So I take, 8 to 10 flavonoids a day. And I find that I'm going through a period of where I'm being challenged with my health and I'm just not coping. Do you suggest that we could increase what we're taking for a 2 or 3 day period to buffer and support our body? Because if we're doing the same thing over and over, the body adjusts itself to what we're giving it. But if we were to shock the body and just provide a little bit more extra support when needed for a short span in time, is that beneficial and why?
Well, I'm going to be very frank here and say I think for most people it would not be beneficial if you're taking that many, whatever, let's say they're taking 2 grams a day, 4, 8 capsules of flavonoids, 2 grams. There are some people that it might help. I know that my own wife, she never had any response to any flavonoids, any product I've ever made until she got over a gram. So she'd take 250, 500, 750, and she said, this stuff isn't worth anything. It wasn't until she got over a gram, which in the amount that I was encapsulating at the time was like 4 capsules. Once she got to 6, she started seeing a real benefit. I've had also people, actually MD, I know one MD that told me, hey, he gets if he just takes 250 milligrams a day, that's usually like 1 capsule, he doesn't need any more. And he doesn't see any benefit. So it's so very individualistic. We made the original dose of most of the stuff that I'm working with, and in all of the different products. I got like 5 products out, but I try to keep them to having somewhere between half or 1 gram a day. And we worked that out so it would saturate an average human's body. But the bioavailability is so different from one person to the next. I think you yourself are a really good example. It takes a lot for you to be stimulated by those flavonoids. You take like 1, 2, 3 grams a day. You're very unusual. So my answer is, I hate to say it depends, but that's really what it is. If you find you're not getting anywhere with taking a couple of grams, yeah, you could go ahead and try to take another couple more capsules. Very frankly, though, for most people, it won't do any difference. That doesn't mean that these things are not working in your life, because let's say you got a broken bone. It's broken, Flavonoids are not going to keep you from getting a broken bone. What you need to say is, well,
Is it just me, or have we lost the connection with him? We've lost him. We'll have to wait for him to come
Yes.
back. Dr. Bosema, do you want to unmute yourself until we get Dr. Ahrens back? Because I'll get you to step in there and talk as well, because I'm gathering from what Dr. Ahrens is saying. I know I'm not the norm. What I was trying to get across to him was to explain that for a short span in time, to take additional extra to boost you over where your body's struggling through something, as to whether that would be beneficial or not, regardless of whether we take 1 or 2 a day or whatever it may be in any supplement that we decide to take. What do you think? Because I'll get you to weigh in on that till he comes back.
Yeah, I've taken quite a bit myself, and I think it's back. He's still muted though.
Are you still muted, Dr. Ahrens? You're going to unmute yourself. I can't hear you because your computer's actually muted.
Can you hear me?
I can now, yes.
Okay, so it just dropped off for a while. So everybody needs flavonoids. Nobody can say, well, it's not working, because I'll tell you, if you, whatever is going on in your life, if you took the flavonoids out of your life, you'd be in a horrible condition. So get back to your question. Well, does it help to take more? Well, you could try it, but I think and it might help some people like yourself, Jackie, but for most people, it will not help. 1 or 2 grams is plenty, and you're just eliminating the excess through your urine and your skin. So frankly, don't waste your money, most people.
Okay. It was interesting because I just, there'd been some questions, so that's why I wanted to just ask as to what it was like on a short span time to just give the body a bit of an extra boost, really, and that's where it was coming from. Okay, so have we got, who would like to unmute themselves? So please do if you've got a question, because we welcome them.
What about getting off of it for a couple of days and then getting back on? Would that help?
Oh man, I really do like that background there you've got going on. Looks just like my neighborhood. That's pretty nice. Look, we're twins here. Yeah, that's also a possibility that you could get off, and it would maybe your body has gotten so used to it, you could get off. Now, inulin will stay in your bloodstream for around 4 days. So if you're going to, I encourage anyone to try anything to shock their bodies. You could get off of it for 4 days, 5 days, a week, and then go back on, and maybe it will wake your body up to using them more. So your body absolutely can get used to any level of anything. It can get used to a certain level of salt and blood sugar, flavonoids, certain vitamins. And so you could go off and then come back on. It kind of could wake up your biochemical pathways. Yes, that's a possibility.
Okay.
Can I ask one more question?
Please do.
Can I ask one more question? Okay, so my son, he's on, oh, never mind. Forget it.
Don't
Sorry,
be
my
shy.
bad.
No, don't be shy, because I'd be intrigued to see what it is with your son, because we've gone down that pathway with where he's at, because we would all learn regardless of what the question is to see what the answer may be.
He's on the low dose flavonoid. So if I put him on the one if I put him on a flavonoid that's higher dose to 30%, and then just kind of go back and forth, would that be okay or no?
No, there's no problem whatsoever. You got to remember that back in our developmental days as humans, we were hunter-gatherers. We did not get the same food every single day. And we didn't have 1 apple a day keeps a doctor away. We didn't have 1 apple a day. One day we might come across some mangoes. Another day we might come across nothing and eat just meat for 2 or 3 days. And then maybe only cassava or potatoes for 2 or 3 days. And then we might get some fruit or guavas. And that variability like that, actually, our body understands that and it reacts to that. It's one of the reasons that you shouldn't eat so much sugar, because your body historically, when it came across sugar, it wanted to load up on it. Well, okay, you'd load up, but it would just be a couple of grams, and then you wouldn't find another apple for another week. But here we've got sugar available to us every single day, and the body does not understand that physiologically. It wants to get sometimes a lot of protein, a lot of sugar, and then it doesn't want any for a while. I actually am a fan of intermittent fasting, by the way. I think that we are supposed to have these variances in our intake and not just every day the same thing on and on. So I do agree with you that you could put more and take out. I mean, variability, I think, quite helps our body quite a bit.
So Dr. Ahrens, another question for you. So when we're talking about one of your other products, and I'm going to be careful on how I ask this of you, but we've got a PM product that can support sleep. Can you actually provide me with what your thoughts are in regards when the best time is to take that product for maximum benefit to provide your body with a more restful sleep? Because, you know, we look at the AM formula, and some people
we can mention this product's name because we're not talking about any disease whatsoever. We're not curing or healing anything. So we can talk about it. And I think you're talking about 24/7. And so
yes,
there is melatonin in the PM. And I have to back up a little bit and say, you get up in the morning, you open your eyes, and the sun is bright white. And in that bright white is a lot of blue light. It's 400 nanometers. And that blue light wipes out the sleep chemicals in your body to zero. And you reset your day. And you start out with nothing. And then over the day, as you going through that day and the light intensity changes, your body goes from producing serotonin, which eventually turns into melatonin. And so by the end of the day, you have maximum amount. It's actually 2 a.m. in your body. Now, that would be normal, but none of us live a normal life. We bombard ourselves with all types of light throughout the day. And remember, that light destroys this sleep chemical. It destroys it. So, and there we are at night, 6 p.m. And now the sun is starting to go down somewhere between 6 to 8, most places in the planet. And we're still having all this light on us, artificial or otherwise, including, you know, we adjust these clocks every year. And we end up with 8 and 9 and 10 o'clock with still a lot of this light, blue light, wiping out the sleep chemical, melatonin. And so we put some in this PM formula to overcome that, because this is the modern world we live in. You know, I got up last night, you know, I don't know, probably drank too much beer and had to go pee. And it was like 2 in the morning and it was bright. I felt like it was just bright in the house. And I looked around and all these blue lights everywhere. Your computer, I don't actually know why blue light was chosen. I think it looks kind of sexy for most people. You know, when I was a real young kid, it was a red light. All the computers and the video things had red lights. Now we all have blue lights. The point is, once your pupils adjust and you wake up, there was enough blue light in this room and the living room to read a book. It was lit up. And it's the computer, it's these little monitors, got little camera things and monitors, all got these little blue light. That kills the sleep chemical. So this is why we put that in there, because by 2 a.m., you're supposed to have your maximum amount, and that will lead to that deep sleep, the REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep. And people report to me once they take this stuff, they say, wow, I had very vivid dreams. It's back to, I said, no, you didn't. That's what your normal dreams are supposed to be like. People don't understand we are living in an artificial world. And so finally, if you take the right flavonoids and you take the right things that are in AM, PM. This is normal life. Now you should have less colds. You should, your broken bones heal quickly, and you should have very vivid dreams. So when should you take it? Okay, I would say 9 p.m. And I'm saying this because what if you don't go to sleep at night? What if you're a second shift person? What if you have to work the third shift? Well, you need to take this product somewhere at your last meal and then right before you actually go to bed. So if you eat normally at 6 o'clock and then you go to bed at 10, I would say take one with your supper at 6 p.m. and then take one right at bedtime. That ought to help you have the maximum amount in your bloodstream at 2 a.m. This is what I'm going for, 2 a.m. So if you work the third shift, well, then you have to decide when are you going to sleep. Back it up and try to start 4 hours before your bedtime and then 2 hours before your bedtime. They're not split evenly throughout the day. So it's not like, okay, with AM, you take it 8 and then you take it noon and then you take it at 6 and at midnight. No. I've always said, take on AM, take that one at breakfast and take it at lunch or when you wouldn't think it was lunch. That's usually 6 hours, 5 or 6 hours apart. And then take one with your dinner and take one right before your bedtime. So was I clear on that?
Very clear. And I've got another question I haven't even asked you, and I don't think I've even heard it asked before. Maybe it has. I know the AM isn't suitable for children of young age, but is the PM suitable for children at all, Dr. Ahrens? And what age would that be? Because children do have problems with sleep. Is that something that is possible for children? And if so, what age? And what are your suggestions there?
Well, it is absolutely suitable for children. In fact, the AM has no stimulants in it at all and will keep you alert. In fact, in some of those ingredients in that AM, we're going to be putting into our new, I'll call it the brain formula, and there'll be one for children. But there's no problem at all. Now, however, having said that, I know you live in Australia, and Australia is highly regulatory, and they don't even like the amount of melatonin that's in the PM to begin with. They'd like it to be cut in half. So if I tell you let children have this, they're going to complain saying, "Oh, that's not the rules in Australia." Okay, I'm in the well, I'm actually in Bahamas, but we follow U.S. rules here. You can absolutely, children can take the product, but we just preface it by saying under 12 or after 12. So 12 and older, they can take it. And I don't even know why they say 12. I think they're just trying to say, okay, pre-adolescent, post-adolescence, you're more human adult and you're not developing as much, which of course, is totally nonsense. But going with these government authorities, I'm just going to stay safe and say, give it to children 12 and older. And I can't make a statement for Australia. It's twice as much in there as Australia likes it to begin with.
Well, I think in Australia, I know, and it is the regulatory side of things, but I know even what we're, anyway, yes, you're right. In Australia, the rules are a little bit tougher, and but I'm still getting back to what you've given the answer, which is great in regards to being able to give it to children if need be. But what I want to know is the dose as well, please, just to give us a bit of an indication on what you think. Is it one capsule if they're a 12-year-old? Is it like what dose are you suggesting and staying compliant?
No, go ahead and give them the full dose. There's so little difference, it won't make a difference. Usually doses are based on weight. And that's that everybody should have a dose based on, but nobody does that. You go to your general practitioner and they just put out whatever they're going to prescribe, the dose 500 mils for anybody, no matter how heavy they are. They don't adjust it. It's ridiculous. But this is totally safe. So all of these flavonoids and related chemicals. You cannot overdose on them. There's impossible. You could take a whole bottle and eat it, and the only thing you might get is a stomach ache. So you can go ahead and take the full adult dose.
Okay. I really appreciate it, Dr. Ahrens, because we've never, I've never heard that conversation in regards for children, because it's a great product. It really is. Lorena, please, you're unmuted, so please ask your question.
I just wanted to say, in connection with Dr. Joe's comment, that when I take the 24/7, I only take one of each of them, and it does me just fine. And I, in many ways, would relate to a 12-year-old. Lots of 12-year-olds are bigger and heavier than I am, so I don't feel that I need the 2 capsules of each of them. And I take my evening one right before I go to bed. If I don't, then it winds me up and I can't sleep then. So that's just my intake on that.
Because
Well,
Lorena,
I like to hear that. I'm a guy that says take less if you can. I'm not trying to sell anything. If you can get by on one, and you know, you don't look like you weigh 300 pounds to me. So take one, absolutely. Always, people, take less and less and less. And even though these doses for all these things, there might be 1 or 2 capsules. I mean, take less until you feel, okay, it's working. But on top of it, save money if nothing. I mean, if you take 1 capsule of that stuff 24/7, you just save, you spread it to 2 months. So that's great. I like to hear that. And yes, some people are more sensitive than others, like especially the melatonin. Take as little as possible. That's what I'm saying. Thank you.
thanks, Dr. Ahrens. Any more questions, guys, as we hit the end of the time frame? We're all good? Awesome. Okay, Dr. Ahrens, is there anything that you want to add? Because I've really found this, actually, I've got another question. I've always got questions. When we're layering Amulin and 24/7 on top of each other, I know I can talk about this safely. What are the benefits of layering the 2 together when we're talking about the additional ingredients in there? Like, why would that be beneficial for people when we talk about having the extra flavonoids?
Well, because 24/7 is not just flavonoids. Now, Amulin is just flavonoids. There's only flavonoids in Amulin, and it was the 3 most effective flavonoids that we found. This is what the years were of our research. Once we identified that flavonoids is what's really the key ingredient here, then we worked for years on what is the best combination and ratio and which ones. You know, we could have said 5, we could have said 2, but our research showed these particular 3 in a certain ratio are the ones that are beneficial for everyone, and they regulate digestion. They regulate sugar metabolism in your body, and as you know, they support your body's immune system, and they help you with things like inflammation. And recently we also found out that, as I said, they are the preferred food for the bugs, good bugs in your body. They're their preferred food, so that's great. But they're just flavonoids. Your body needs more than just flavonoids. 24/7 is more of a overall health picture for several areas in your life. So it has a couple of flavonoids in there, but everything else is not flavonoids. There are a lot of things that are very vitamin-like, antioxidants, things that support, like I said, good sleep. Melatonin is not a flavonoid. If you look on those ingredients, there's probably 2 or 3 flavonoids, and all the others are not flavonoids. So this is a more broader health picture. So if you take the 2 together, you're getting a much more comprehensive health. And I still say you should take some vitamins. There are no vitamins, as we recognize currently, in Amulin or 24/7. So still take vitamins. I tell them I take vitamin D. My own body tends to just not make enough vitamin D from the sunlight. I need to supplement myself. And the reason I know that is because I get a blood test twice a year. That's part of my health regimen. I go get a blood test. I look at my liver chemistry, every kind of chemistry, blood sugar, and my vitamin levels. And I'm always consistently low. Well, I'm not low anymore because I supplement myself with vitamin D. I actually use the ones that dissolve underneath your tongue. And so they go right into your bloodstream instead of having to go through your stomach and work through all that stuff. So yeah, it's not an end all formula, just take an Emlyn 24/7. I'm not trying to say that, but I would say, hey, take a multivitamin and take 24/7 an Emlyn. You have a much better overall health benefit package.
Thanks, Dr. Ahrens. I've got another question. Jim, would you like to ask a question, please?
Okay, Becky, I asked this with you and Dr. Ron in the past, but I wanted to see what Dr. Aaron's thought is on this. So with like bodybuilding, okay, they cut out the carbs and then they carb load, and it's usually with simple sugars. And they do that to blow up before they get on stage. And so I understand taking the carbs, your body retains the water weight, but how does it appear like it's filling the muscle cells and not just filling the fat store right outside of this, right under the skin, in the skin? Did that question come across coherently or not really?
Yeah, it did. It came across fine. So when you load up with carbs, especially if you're doing body work, or even if you're going to do like cycling, load up on carbs, that does not go to fat whatsoever. First of all, your carbs are moving in and out of fat constantly. They don't just go into fat and stay. You got coming in and going out. When you load up on carbs, what happens is you first get to a high blood sugar saturation, and then it goes into glycogen, which is inside the muscle fibers themselves. And that's the ones you're really talking about right there. And the ones in the blood are for energy, and that's it. That's the first ones you use. But the glycogen, which is basically animal starch, if you will, that's a good word. It's like starch. It's not the first source of sugar, but when you overload, then you push it into glycogen. If you keep overloading, then you go into fat. Now, these sugars are necessary for optimal performance, and it will actually help you. Your muscles will pump up. You actually will trap sugar inside your muscle fibers. And the only other thing that does that is water, by the way, that goes in between your muscle fibers. So the protein goes directly into the muscle, and then you have glycogen and water. That's it. There's no fats or oils inside your muscle tissue. So this is why they do that. There's really nothing wrong with that. One of the best things to do is there's some other, I know I'm a flavonoid crazy guy, but citrus bioflavonoids, particularly naringin, 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 it will strip your muscle. You'll get stripped. It's excellent. I know plenty of people that are in not just weightlifting, but just bodybuilding championships. They take, this is a flavonoid that comes from grapefruit, and it really strips you. So if you take that and then you load up with carbs, man, you look like a walking peacock. I mean, that's what I would coach some people to do. You don't want to lose it just by dehydrating yourself. That's the wrong way to go about it. Although you'll look good for a while, but that's really, you're playing on some health issues here. Depriving yourself of your muscles of water, because when they're working, even when you're just posing, and I don't know if you do it or not, when you pose, that's a lot of work to pose. I mean, you are really putting pressure on your muscles. So you could strip yourself by using something like naringin and then load up on carbs, no problem whatsoever, no issues. I even, though, if you were going to go in a competition, I'd say, why don't you get off Emlyn for a couple of days before that, because it'll try to keep your sugar from going into glycogen in your muscles. So get off of it for a while.
So Dr. Ahrens, I'm going to start and take some Narinjan because I'm going to be looking like the boxing kangaroo down here in the Aussie land down under. So I'll be like, whoo, whoo, I'm going to be on that stuff. Sounds good. Then look out, Friday morning's calls or Thursday night's calls are going to be even more jumpy, going to be like even more on a high. To any more questions at all, guys? Because I think we've covered a fair bit today and I'm at all.
No.
Last call? No?
No,
Okay. All right.
that's good. A half an hour.
All right. I know you want to go back to enjoying what you've got in your background there, which I'm a little bit envious of. It is beautiful. But I want to thank you, Dr. Ahrens, because I think we've really covered a lot of areas there today that I've found a lot of benefit from it, and hopefully each and every one of you have. So again, I want to thank you. And we'll bring something else to the table next week. So if you've got a topic in particular that you like to, you've probably got about 3 days to send it in and let us know. But otherwise, again, thank you for joining us today. And for those that watch us afterwards as well, we really do appreciate you taking the time to do that, because this platform really is basically for a health and wellness platform. And Dr. Ahrens is providing his personal opinion only. So please be mindful of that. And Dr. Ahrens, thank you so much on behalf of each and every one of us for always giving us your time each week too, because we do really value it. So on that note, thank you so much, everybody, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Bye for now.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank